From the art of the deal to keeping it real. Live from the Simply Vegas studios, it's The Power Move with John Gafford.
Ha! Still not canceled, boys. Still not canceled.
Trying.
Man, if you are listening to this is episode like 9 or 10, depending on how I edit it today.
You cut it up.
Just depends how we cut it up. I don't know yet. We'll figure it out when we do that.
That far in, huh?
But wow, man, good weekend. It was a great weekend coming back after the holiday weekend. Football is back. I don't know how much football you guys went. I know you.
I watched.
You went.
Football.
You watched too much football.
Yeah, too much football. But
you actually went to a game this weekend, right?
UCLA, LSU at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena.
Yeah, you got to pull the mic up a little. Pasadena. How was that, man?
Gong show. I went there with a bunch of people from Swamp, LSU fans.
Oh boy,
Cajuns, and true to form, they you could tell what state they were from without them telling you.
You know what's funny? I went to the opener. I went to the LSU opener actually. I think it was a year ago, and it was in Nashville, and they drank the town out of vodka.
Yeah, like I
because
said,
they just weren't prepared. They just weren't prepared for it.
Like I said,
you know. My cousin went to an Alabama game once. They were playing Think U of U, and they got made fun of left and right the whole weekend for putting gel in their hair. Like that, you could tell who was from where.
Wait, what year was this?
This was not that long ago.
What are we talking about?
No, this was not that long ago. He's like, yeah, you could definitely tell where we were from. So, not having hair gel. Not having hair gel. I'm just saying.
Well, you know, for me, man, the best story of the whole weekend for a couple of reasons. Number one, obviously, the Florida State University is near and dear to my heart. I love that team as much as you can love a human baby.
Go Noles.
And man, I got to tell you, if you didn't, everybody saw it. It was probably the most watched game of the week, which I loved. But McKenzie Milton, dude, this cat. For those of you who don't know, McKenzie had a storied career at the University of Central Florida. He was part of their national championship year when they just decided to give themselves rings for whatever reason.
That was a power move.
Yeah, that wasn't. You know what?
Power move.
That was you know what? I don't have the new noise word. We're going
power move.
Yeah, we're going right for the horn. We'll go for the horn because that was
beautiful.
But no, but giving yourself a ring, that's a pretty strong move. But anyway, regardless of that, he finished in like top 10 of Heisman votes and had a catastrophic leg injury. And I'm talking about. Like not like
Alex Smith.
Yeah, dude. Like they thought at one point, not only did he blow the leg out, then he had a major infection, and they thought they were going to have to actually like take the leg at one point. Like he was going to be one-legged guy. Like forget football. And he went through the surgeries, did everything he could do, and all of those things. And the doctors told him, hey, nothing's impossible, but you're not going to play anymore. And this Sunday, man, fourth quarter, down by 10 points. What happens? By the luck of the Irish, I got the luck of the Irish because they went up winning the game. Yeah, but by the God's powers, our quarterback Travis, his helmet gets knocked off, and who comes in the game? McKenzie Milton, and he proceeds to do. I mean, the first thing he did was run out there and throw a 22-yard just strike, lit it up right down the field, and then marched the team down for a touchdown. Then marches them down again for a game-tying field goal, which goes overtime, which they lose. Now, granted. They would have, I think they would have probably, had it not been for a bad snap, he could have taken him for the win. Who knows? Snapping was an issue, which hopefully they're working on. But when you see that story, and then you see it blow up everywhere, it was the story from college football this week. And you think a lot about adversity in people. And when I saw that, the first thing I always think of is, believe it or not, there's a scene in Pirates of the Caribbean, that movie with Johnny Depp. And I always remember this one line from that movie. And it's where he's sword fighting with the young guy, whatever his name was. And the guy says, I would have killed you in a fair fight. And Johnny Depp says, look, there's really only two rules you need to think about. It's what a man can do and what a man can't do. Yeah. And that's it. Yep. There's no such thing as fair. So when you look at what he was able to accomplish to overcome that, and it was over 1,000 days out of football, it's astonishing. It's just astonishing.
Yeah, Alex Smith, too, was one of those stories where you literally had every reason to just give up. Like all medical science, all good reason and rationale said, hey, you are literally going to lose a leg. We had to get you to an army hospital where, victims of IEDs come. That's how bad your football leg break was. And you look at the Namaths and you look at, some of these horrific injuries in sports and you just go, wow, a lot of them don't come back.
It's crazy.
at that point, you just look back and what's important to you. And I'm shocked, like an Alex Smith is, he's already had that career, and to go through all the stuff he had to, I mean, I guess you step back in time and say, what's really important to me? And to these guys, football is. I mean, I don't think I would have done that.
But I think it's more than that. I think having a level of resiliency to overcome, obstacles, problems in your life. Now, granted, I've never had anything happen to me like that where my leg was shattered and I almost had to cut it off, and I came back and almost won a damn football game in front of 70,000 people. But one of the things that I'm very proud of from my time on The Apprentice was they put me through 1 million tests there, psychological tests, all of those things, IQ testing on the show. And I was told by the head psychologist of the show, Dr. Liza Siegel, who went on to write a book about the psychology of the contestants on the show, that I scored higher in resiliency than anybody else they'd ever had on the show. Right. And they thought that kind of my backstory and how that was a little fascinating, because as a kid, my parents got divorced when I was very young. I know, boohoo, everybody's did. Who cares? But when they got divorced, my mom went to work and nobody was really there. So I didn't have, from the time I was probably 6, I didn't have
latchkey kid, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have that parent home. I didn't come home and have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich waiting on the counter. And I never really realized it, but our next door neighbors across the street, my buddy Grady, his mom she was like the peanut butter and jelly mom. That's what I call her. So that's where the kids went after school. We all played over there. She made sure we all ate. She took care of it. And as an adult, when so many people look back at those things as a crutch in their life, like, oh God, I had this terrible childhood. Nobody was really around. I had to take care of myself. Yeah. It never even occurred to me that was a problem, because rather than wallow in it or figure it out, even at a young age, I just found what I needed somewhere else. Right. It's just what I did.
Perspective. It's funny you talk about these football players. They're the ones who, if anybody's going to get over something, it's them. They have the resilience. That's why they're playing for national teams like that. That's why they're playing for these, because they have resilience. Because think about what you have to do to get to that level, just to even be a college recruit. Yeah. You got to not only be the kid that makes it through and not quit and give up, but then you got to get through high school, play 4 years, and impress somebody and stick with it and deal with coaches and other people in your team. Maybe there was Richie Incognitos when you're in your 9th grade. Oh, no, but you know what I mean? Maybe there was serious bullies that a lot of people would have quit.
For those of you who don't know, Richie Incognito made a name for himself in the NFL by bullying people literally out of the NFL.
You know what I'm saying? And those are guys in the NFL, he could bully them out. And those guys exist in high school. And then they come and exist in college and then whatever. So to be at that level, there's all these guys. Your job's never safe. You have to, by your very nature, be a resilient person in order to even get there.
I think sports is great that way. I think sports is kind of a mini simulation of what life is.
Totally agree.
You deal with coaches who are kind of like bosses, other people.
You don't like and you have to deal with.
When I was, sophomore, I had universities like, oh, you're a good quarterback. We're excited. And the coach is like, well, you're too mean and you're too fast. That's his exact words. You're too mean and you're too fast to be a quarterback. I'm putting you at safety. I'm like, what's this all about? I've been a quarterback my whole life.
Too mean and too fast.
You got quick feet.
The same honeymoon complaints we got from
exactly. But I was like, what is going on? I've been a quarterback my whole life. And then all of a sudden I found out his kid was transferring into
Sure.
So, you had to step back and say, well, is football important? There's another quarterback in the same situation a year younger, and he walked away from the stuff. But, I think that's what's great about
Here's my
sports.
question. What was it like when you found out you were 17 still playing Pee-wee and your parents were just nobody bothered to tell you? What was that revelation like?
I just thought I was a tall kid. I thought I was real tall.
That was really good.
Wow.
Yeah, but what's funny? I hear a lot of people, and this kind of, I don't think it should be a controversial statement, but I think it is. You just talk about sports and what that does to develop you as a person of character, right? Everybody that I know, so athletics is the number one thing, I think, predictor of whether girls who play sports, whether or not they'll be straight A students, have teen pregnancy issues. Girls that play sports don't have teen pregnancy issues. Girls that play sports
going another direction.
Girls that play sports in high school don't have. They get good grades disproportionately, and they stay out of trouble, and they don't get arrested.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Oh, absolutely.
Playing sports is a good way to humble your ego, because you have to get hurt sometimes, and you hurt people sometimes, and you learn all those things. The kids that I know that complain about how tough their lives were or all that situation are kids that most often didn't play sports.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And that's why, with our kids, we said, you don't have to play everything, But you got to play something.
You got to do
You gotta play
something.
something.
You got to pick something and figure out whatever that might be that you're going to play. But you got to do something.
You got to do
can't
something.
nothing.
And I like combat sports for kids. I think kids learn, and not forever. You don't have to take it up as a martial art. My daughter, have her in jiu-jitsu. My oldest, I tried to put in jiu-jitsu. She hated it. But she tried it for a little bit. She genuinely hated it. She was getting ragdolled by kids half her size.
Oh, God.
And it's just not in her personality. So now she sticks with volleyball. I tried tennis and basketball. We tried all the different sports. But you have to do something. You have to be out there. And the things she gets from it are obviously teamwork. She faced adversity because she was sitting on the bench. She played club volleyball for years. And she got a school coach last year. And she sat. And we're going like, wait a minute, we thought she would be
you're like,
number one.
What's
And
happening
not
here?
even just as a parent, but just because she's tall, she's played for years, she's always been, great on her teams, and just didn't work out for her last year. Maybe it was her attitude, but she had to face it, she had to deal with it.
I think how you react to adversities. I mean, you see people they don't react too well.
Fold.
I mean, you see people throw fits. I mean,
Freak
just
out.
even in the NFL, some of these guys have been so good their whole lives. They've been so above everybody. They get hit in the face once and they fold.
That was one of my biggest issues for a while there. I kept hiring these guys to work for me and I just wound up with this slew of guys that had been D1 pitchers in baseball and drafted into the AAAs. That is that's a tough mind bend for most people because these are people that have been told they're special literally their entire life. Like you're special, you're special, you're special, you're special, all the way to when they get drafted out of high school or college, whatever it is, and they get drafted into the pros, and then it just never happens for them. And all of a sudden they go from being super special to being a normal.
On a bus playing in some third division.
The worst
for
when it's
20,000
over.
a year.
I'm talking about when it's over, when they're done.
That's almost better, like in some ways, than these guys that go play minor leagues, because there's this hope of something, but they're making literally nothing. They're making a pittance. You go from making millions to like 30,000 a year, like really, really low wages, and you're on a bus. You're not on chartered jets.
No, you're not.
You're on a bus, and you may get called up, and you're playing, and nothing ever happens. That is weird because it seems like it's just so close. It's like the 3 feet from gold at whatever, Napoleon Hill or whatever. Yep. I don't know if you guys...
Or 10 feet from stardom.
Or whatever it is. It's basically that thing where it's like, look, you gotta stick, I'm gonna stick with it. And then you turn 30 and it's like, okay, now beat it.
So when let's talk about it personally then. So when you've got something facing you, that's grinding on you and you want to, you've got something in your face. Yeah. What steps do you make to push through that, to drive yourself to get there? What do you do?
Absolutely attack it. I will get up. It will keep me up at night. I'll wake up at 3 a.m. and go to the office.
Really?
Yeah, because I don't do well when things are hanging over my head. I'm not somebody that can live with the sort of Damocles. Like I have to address it. I have to face it. I have to
Damocles.
There you go.
There's your Scrabble word, kids.
Yeah, can you spell that?
There it is.
Damocles.
Use Damocles in a sentence. If I tell you what, if this podcast does nothing more, it's going to expand your vocabulary.
Oh, for sure.
It's going to do it.
If you know how to spell it, help me spell that. I'm going to make them spell everything.
Damocles.
Yeah.
All right.
Sort of Damocles. It was hanging over Damocles. It's that thing. It could drop at any second.
Got it.
And it's the idea of this thing that's...
See, as normies just say the other shoe's about to drop.
Yeah.
Or that works too.
That works.
But so I'll get up. I'll wake up. If I have a big motion or something, I will get up and I will sit there. I'll get up at 3 a.m. I'll go to my office till like 10 at night. But it has to get done. It has to be addressed. I don't like things lingering over my head. That's because I'm type A.
Yeah.
And I need to have the power back.
You know what? That's a great way to put it, because I got to tell you, for me, nothing makes me more anxious or upset or just out of sorts than being on defense.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely.
And when things happen, like this weekend we had something happen, and it put me on defense a little bit for a second. And I just said, you know what, I'm going full offense on it. And I'm not even going to get into really I'll tell you what it was. I'll tell you what it was.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Let's talk about it.
Can't tease us.
No, this weekend. So, real estate is an ever evolving world. It's ever moving, ever cruising around. And some nominations came out last week for a local publication here in Las Vegas, The Paper, and they do this best of every year. And it's nice to be nominated in these things, but I don't put a lot of stock in them, because again, I think the decisions come out of the sales department as to who wins these things. And there was something really weird that happened with these nominations, and it's this. So I looked at the nominations, and we got nominated again for best real estate company for that, okay? But we did not get nominated for best luxury real estate company, which I thought was really weird. I was like, we literally have billboards all over town that say number one in luxury. Literally that billboard is everywhere. We have the highest average sales price of any large company. We sell a truckload of ginormous properties. If you go to our website, Simply Vegas, it says the core business that we are, luxury service, luxury homes. And I couldn't figure out why we were not on that list. It just struck me as odd and kind of moved on. And then Friday, I guess it was, an article came out in the paper. And there is a large, semi-large firm out of California expanding into Vegas. And they've done some mergers with some people. And good for them. That's great. But the level of cockiness in this article from the CEO or whoever this guy is that owns this company about how they're going to come to Vegas and dominate the market, the level of arrogance in that statement bothered me.
Sure.
Right. And what's cool is they actually interviewed one of my counterparts in another company, one of the other big three. We're number 3, the number 1 company. They interviewed this guy. And it was funny how quickly he just dismissed it. He was like, who? What? Okay. Because they're like, we're going to be number 1 in 18 months. And he was like, yeah, interview the guy again in 18 months.
Yeah.
And so here I am. So I start kind of putting the pieces together. And then I see that this company's been around for 5 minutes in Las Vegas. And I go back and I look and I realize and I see now that company's name is in the running for best luxury firm. And they've been around for literally 5 minutes. And I put the pieces together in my head. I'm like, that's already bought and paid for.
Bought and paid for.
So I'm like, I can already tell you who's going to win that because they've already bought and paid for it because this firm is equity money based or backed.
Right.
So I was like, all right, that's what's going to happen there. But it pissed me off. And I lost some sleep about it last night. And I called Gavin this morning, my partner, and I said, look, this is where we're at. I'm a little irritated by the arrogance of this person. Of what happened. And I'm a little I think it's funny we were not included in the comments. So, and I thought about it. I said, the reason they're probably not including us in their comments because we have a higher concentration and collection of high-end agents here than anywhere else in the city. Right. And I said, these people are going to try to use this against us to try to pick our agents off. So I came in today and got to my director of growth and I said, dude, I want you to pound this company. I want you to call every one of their agents, and I don't care what you want to do. I want you to recruit every single one of them. I want you to pound them. I want them to rue the day that they decide to pick up the phone and call my company. Right. And I think that's what it's
Preemptive
about.
Strike?
Yeah, kind of. But it's more about if I'm in control of my destiny, I feel better. If I'm going to be if I'm going to be
swinging.
If I'm going to be in a car crash that's going to go off the side of a cliff, I want to be behind the wheel.
Yeah.
And that's it. And I think keep in mind, I have no fear really of this company.
No, but it's just principle.
Yeah, I was aggravated by the arrogance that somebody thinks they can just come to the market and do what this guy says they think they can do. So yeah, full on onslaught on their agents. It's going to be a relentless push. It's not going to stop. and I'm going to recruit every single, obviously we don't hire every agent because we only hire quality, but any agent of substance that works at that company, I'm going to go get. And I don't care what we have to do to go get them. And that's
shots fired.
Well, and then that's where I'm at. You know what I mean? That's my whole deal.
Yeah, right.
So I think, a big part of it for me, if you're dealing with some sort of adversity, is you've got to do something to get off the defense and get on the offense and take control of a situation.
I feel better. I personally feel better. Some people like to just let it blow over. Some people, it doesn't eat them apart. Some people, it doesn't eat them alive. And to me, it does. I get eaten alive by the idea that, somebody's gotten one over on me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Because I'm just generally fueled by spite as a person. So
I know.
I think we're all.
I tell you right now. Yesterday we were driving down Las Vegas Boulevard, lunchtime, looking for a place to eat. What do we see?
Chili's.
No Chili's. You're not getting any more money from me, Chili's. You're done. You're done. Again, if you want to, I want you to Google
Chili's Las Vegas.
Do me a favor. Call Chili's corporate and just ask them a question. What did you guys do to John Gafford? That's what I want you to do.
Cracker Barrel fire Brad's wife? Two questions I will die.
Two questions we want to know. Why did Cracker Barrel fire his wife, and what did you do to John Gafford? But again, you're right. And I try, as much as I try to be a practitioner of modern stoicism, it's hard, man. It's hard to let stuff work.
Oh, I'd like to pretend that I'm a modern practitioner of Buddhism until something happens, which just completely derails me. I could sit there and cross my leg and go to a yoga class and be like, man, I am at the center of my being. Then all of a sudden,
what did you say?
Somebody won't pull off into the intersection to make a left.
Start throwing
all of a sudden, it's like, you can take that ancient wisdom.
I don't know how people do just let things blow by. Like that's whenever I'm faced with something crazy, it's either something with work, which I'm 100% with you guys. You have to just attack it.
Yeah.
You have to attack it. Now, if it's something that's, maybe a big, like when I got out of high school, I did not know what I was going to do. I was supposed to go play football, and I just didn't want to. And I kept interviewing for just sales jobs at the local, RC Wheelers or whatever, and kept getting turned down. They're like, where'd you go on your mission? And I got so defeated. You
didn't mention that was in Utah.
Yeah, that was in Utah. I'm sorry, Utah. Yeah. But no, I got so defeated and I was so lost at who I was that I just finally had to say, you know what, step back, look at the whole situation, and then figure it out from there. And that's when I stepped back and realized, you know what, screw these guys. It's going to be in my court, right? Like I'm going to take it and I'm going to go do it. If I mess up my life, it's because of me, not because of a boss, not because of somebody else telling me what I do. So that's when I got into real estate.
But
and a year later, selling.
That's taking control of the situation.
It's actually called your LOC, your locus of control.
Yep.
Yeah.
People with a high locus of control tend to be people that are going to be out more successful in sales and things like that.
Well, I think, too, it comes down to how quickly people want to point the finger or how quickly they want to pull the thumb.
Right.
That's one of my things. Stop pointing the finger, start pulling the thumb.
Yeah.
Whenever I deal with people in business that work for me and whatever, and there's a moment of adversity, if there's a look I make on my face, and if you ever see me make this face, for those of you watching on YouTube, if you see me make that face, that's because I'm trying to get to the bottom of something and you're immediately going into defensive mode. Like, it might not be you, but it might be you.
Might be you.
We just haven't gotten there yet to figure it out. But if you're immediately scrambling to make a situation not your fault, then chances are you're going to have a much longer road to get back to where you want to be.
That's
or
a
you
huge
won't
element
even
of
fix
character.
it.
Yeah, that's a huge element of character of people that will take ownership of the losses as well as the wins.
Well, and you can fix it too. Like I'll be the first one that if I make a mistake, I'm made a mistake. Because if you can't admit it, then everybody's just always defensive, and no one will come to a solution. If I make a mistake, I'm going to be the first one to say, I made a mistake, but here's how we're going to fix it.
Well, because you have the control to fix that.
Yeah.
That's why.
And I don't think a lot of people realize anything in the world can be fixed most of the time.
See, that's
Most of the time.
No, that's not true.
You don't
I disagree.
think so?
No, I disagree.
Yeah, ask Chili's.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Chili's.
Chili's could have fixed it by giving
They would
you
have to bring a bag. They would have to bring out the bag.
No. The point is when you say anything in the world can be fixed, that is not true. And the reason I say that is because anything internally anything you have direct control over can be fixed. There's plenty of outside circumstances that cannot be controlled, which is why people get in situations of self-pity and self-doubt. And the world is against me and this and that. Dude, you've got to take control of things that you can actually control. Come on, Colt. Take control of your life.
That's a great thing about happiness, right? Whether or not you are comfortable realizing there is a world outside of your control and controlling the things you can. Have you seen those diagrams? Yeah. Are you stressed? Yes. No. Yeah. Is it something you can control? It's like,
then don't worry about it.
Do something about it. No, move on.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Like I said, one of my favorite sayings is don't borrow trouble from tomorrow.
Yeah.
I love that saying when my wife gets stressed out about something that,
could happen.
It's like, babe, if it's going to happen, we'll deal with it then. Don't borrow trouble from tomorrow. There's no reason to deal with that way.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
it's a great phrase. It's a great way to live.
I love it. You know what else? Not to change the subject, but man, I had the most profound thing that I thought of this weekend, which is crazy. And I was watching an old clip, and it was Steve Jobs, and he says, you're going to die, is what he said to me, Morbert. He goes,
wait, what?
Yeah, that's what he said.
Shocker.
I know. The guy really could predict the future. He really could. No, but he said, when you come to grips with the fact that you're going to die, everything else becomes inconsequential. You're going to die. So does this decision really is it that big of a deal compared to that? No, the finality of how it is. And when I started thinking about that, I mean, obviously understanding that, you start to want to squeeze more out of every day, not waste time, not do things because you don't know what it is. And I swear, it's like there was remember that movie with Justin Timberlake where they had like the clocks on their wrists?
The Alpha Dog?
Yeah.
No.
Didn't watch any.
No.
I didn't see it, but I know what you're talking about.
It was called Out of Time. That's what it was.
Yep.
Where time was like a commodity and they had to run around and get time on a little band. If their time hit zero, they would die.
So it was sort of like that Jason Statham movie where you had to get the adrenaline going.
I'm sure, probably like every movie there was. But they had a clock on their wrist that showed them how much time they had left. And if you had that kind of a situation where you knew exactly how many days you had left. Right. How would that change the way that you lived? And I was sitting at Outback because we wound up going to Outback because no way, Chili's not going to you. We wound up going to Outback. And as we're sitting there, I'm just watching like some of the employees that were there just drone through their day. And I'm thinking, like, if you were trading that, if you had a clock over your head, like floating over your head saying how much time you had left and you're trading your time for that.
Right.
Like,
no, that
is your time really worth?
So that is my greatest fear. Remember we were talking about a lot of these things? I think I mentioned on here before that one of my fears is dying. Now, I've kind of gotten over my fear of death specifically, but I don't want to live an unlived life, right? So at the end of the day, like there's a Stephen King novel called Insomnia.
Yeah, with the little guys with the
balloon
scissors.
guys
the
cut your lifeline.
Yeah, they cut your
you
lifeline.
have your lifeline.
And it floats away.
It's a determined sort of time. Now, if you could see, I loved it.
I love that book.
I love that book. It's funny. You read that.
Did we just become best friends?
Yeah.
Sorry, Colt.
It's a 1,000-page book.
It was great. It was great. I loved it.
It's literally a 1,000-page book you don't hear about. That was just phenomenal. That deals with social issues. And anyway, I'll talk to you about that later.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved it.
But if you knew what your balloon line looked like, how would you live? Would you be nice to your kids? Well, then do that now. Like, it's hard to. It's the perspective, right? And there's that line in Fight Club. He's like, well, after fighting, everything gets the volume turned down a little bit. Yeah. Right? Things that truly don't matter, you start to let go when you have physically exhausted yourself. And that comes back to that sports in a weird 360. When you're out there doing difficult things, whether it's fighting, sports, or working really hard at your job, a lot of times some of that banal shit, the banality of your day-to-day life can go away, right? You can start to get better perspective when you're truly out there exhausting your potential. Yeah. I think a lot of people, they work the 9 to 5, they get home, they eat shitty foods, they watch shitty programs, and they're really not expressing, who they were when they were 5. There's that book Mastery by, was it Robert Greene? It's talking about the concept of, to find your happiness, think about what made you happy when you were a little kid.
Sure.
And go fucking do that now.
Right.
Yeah, just go do that.
You're dying, and I know you have responsibilities when you bring kids in the world, and you do all these things, but I mean, I would rather have less, I would have had less as a kid to know that my parents were out there really swinging for the fences.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of how you grow up and look. And just not to get off on another tangent, but I was watching Anthony Bourdain, and he went to Namibia. I've been going over the Bourdain stuff again after watching Roadrunner. And you see what a lot of times people live like, what they have to eat and what they have working for them or what, and they're alive and they're fine.
Did you?
A lot of times they're happy.
Did you
ever notice that?
Completely reasonable.
Did you happen to see the episode with him with the frozen octopuses when he got so blackout drunk at the meal because he just wanted to
Which one was that?
He went to, I don't know where he went. He went somewhere in Italy or something, and he says, and he's commentating over the actual episode. He's like, he goes, look, when we go do this stuff, it's real. It's true. We tell real stories with real chefs. He goes, this was a complete farce from the beginning to the end, and I was so bothered by it. He goes, it's like, go out hunting for octopus or whatever it is.
Oh, but they were frozen.
They were throwing, he goes, I'm underwater with the guy, and we're looking for octopuses, and I hear this ka-thunk, 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 and I look up, and I'm seeing these frozen octopuses
falling down.
And this
guy, do you know who I am?
And this guy
that's not what I do.
And this guy is, he goes, it's worse. And he's gathering them, and then he goes, at the end of it, then we have to go ashore where he beats the dead frozen octopuses against the rocks to kill them. And then he goes, and then the meal was so ridiculous. He goes, I was so put off by the whole thing. By the time I even got to the meal, I was blackout drunk.
That's funny.
So he's sitting at the table, and he doesn't even, it was epic.
What a great Bourdain moment. But yeah, but just, my point was watching Botswana or Namibia, and you see people that live off the same types, and they don't hunt, and they're not agrarian, so they're not like raising crops. They just go out and forage. To this day, there's people that forage for their food. Yet they have dances and song and tradition and all this stuff, right? And life is difficult, but they're still alive. We have this thing where, oh my God, if I don't have a brand new Apple, I'm gonna fucking die. And at the end of the day, step back and go.
New iPhone comes out in about 3 weeks, so just keep that in mind.
What's that?
New iPhone comes out in 3 weeks.
Oh, really?
Oh God.
Yeah. Just let you know, there's a reason for it to have an iPhone, buddy.
No,
Colt, you want to talk about that or no?
Oh my
It's
God.
overrated. Overrated. iPhone.
Colt today goes, man, my phone broke, and I took it to the store to T-Mobile, and I'm like, can you guys help me fix the button and this and that? And they wouldn't do it. It was an hour and 45 minutes, and I was like, Why don't you just take it to the Android store? Oh, they don't have one.
Colt
of those.
screws up every
Such a
group
dick.
chat he's in.
Every
Is that not
group
one-
chat.
Maybe
Android.
that's a reason.
Okay.
Do you guys love group chats?
Oh, God. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back when we talk about some more stuff. We're going to talk about this new DeMello show, in case you guys don't know what that is. We're going to talk about Las Vegas and why people still come here. And we're going to talk about how to kick people with green bubbles out of group chats. So we'll be back in just a minute.
Thank the Lord.
I literally saw a meme.
Hey, it's John Gafford. If you want to catch up more and see what we're doing, you can always go to thejohngafford.com, where we'll share any links that things we talked about on the show, as well as links to the YouTube where you can watch us live. And if you want to catch up with me on Instagram, you can always follow me at thejohngafford. I'm here. Give me a shout.